Hey everyone, it's Coach Mel. It's Mondays with Coach Mel, and we are going to be talking about parenting the picky eater, 7 parenting principles to climb out of the chicken nugget rut. So come on in and join me and start typing in your questions. I'm going to be chatting a little bit about these parenting principles, but we're going to make sure that we save lots of time to answer your questions. And whether you've got a child who is an adventurous eater and you're just trying to avoid the chicken nugget rut, or whether you've got a kiddo who's deep in it, just let me know and we'll come up with some strategies. So, hi, Jody. I see some friends already joining us. My name is Melanie Potock, and I am a speech language pathologist who specializes in parenting and picky eaters. And there's nothing I love more than talking about kids and food. And I want to share with you tonight 7 parenting principles that we did together in our very first book, that we being Dr. Namali Fernando, my dear friend, pediatrician in Virginia. We call her Dr. Yum. And myself, we wrote a book a few years ago called Raising a Healthy, Happy Eater. This is always the tricky part for me, is getting it on the screen. So this book has been quite popular on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, local bookstores, because it's a stage-by-stage guide to setting your child on the path to adventurous eating. And this book was set up as a journey, a handbook. It walks parents through the developmental process known as learning to eat. I often say, I'm sure you've heard me say it before, that learning to eat is developmental. It's just like learning to crawl, walk, run. And sometimes when kids appear to just be picky, they're actually stalled in their eating development. And that book will walk you through all the process as well as the red flags in case you might want to get a little extra support from a speech language pathologist, an occupational therapist, or registered dietitian. All of us work closely together with your pediatrician to get your child back on the path to adventurous eating. A big piece of that is parenting. And it's not that parents are doing anything wrong. It's just that as a mom of a picky eater myself, I can tell you that having a picky eater is really stressful, and a parent tends to parent their picky eater a little bit differently than they intended. So we're going to talk about 7 parenting principles that you can use to help your child climb out of that chicken nugget rut. I want to be sure to mention that there's nobody that loves French fries more than me. And give me a good drive-through every once in a while. I just wrote a book about teaching your kid how to eat vegetables, but that doesn't mean that I'm not a realist and that I don't want a little bit of French fry or maybe a chicken nugget every once in a while. But I think what every parent wants to do is know how to limit it so that kids don't only eat that traditional kid food. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about 7 parenting principles that you can use to help your picky eater. I want you to consider, since we're chatting about fast food, that the big fast food chains market their foods to our kids on billboards, on television, in movies, on social media. Did you know that preschoolers see on average 3 fast food ads per day? That's crazy. So what can we do to counteract that? Well, follow these 7 parenting principles and parent in the kitchen, and you'll be able to draw a balance between that overexposure of fast food and more exposure with healthy food. A little bit of both, Okay. If we're thinking about parenting strategies for exposing children to healthy foods, then I want you to think about that this takes time. Just like kids learning to get, overly attached to the idea of a kid's meal takes a little bit of time too. So take it slow, be patient with yourself. The first thing I want you to think about is parenting compassionately. If you have to say no, you can do it in a compassionate manner. So Offer an alternative when kids want French fries once again, or you're driving down the main street in your town and there's the Golden Arches, and that's the signal to them, Mom, I want some French fries. And you know we just had French fries yesterday. You might say something like, you know, sweetie, I love those salty fries from that place too. I would love to drive through. But we've really been working on eating healthy, and we already had that treat yesterday. Let's think of a treat that we could have and make together. How about some beet fries or some sweet potato fries? Those are healthier. We can make them together. They're really pretty, and we can even put them in a little paper pouch. Maybe when Daddy comes home tonight, we could draw pictures on it. I know he loves dinosaurs. How about you decorate his with a dinosaur? You know, it's about being compassionate with our kids and understanding and saying, yeah, I'd love some fries too, but also modeling for them that there are alternatives, and sometimes we have to make those healthier choices. Another parenting principle I want you to think about is to parent mindfully if you have to say no. So provide an explanation and create a teachable moment. You might say, no, I don't buy chicken nuggets from the drive-through. They've got a lot of preservatives in them. You know what? If you'd like me to buy some for your science fair project and see what happens to them if we let them sit on a plate for a week or a month, let's do that. You can do the same with our homemade nuggets and compare the two. I bet you would win with that science fair project. As a matter of fact, I want to show you a little something. Inside here, I've got, oh, there's my, I've got 3 chicken nuggets. Looks pretty yummy, right? These are 3 years old. Try this with your kids. Pick up a drive-through burger or some chicken nuggets and just let them sit on the counter. They never mold. They turn into rock hard, petrified chicken. Not a bad science fair experiment, is it? Now listen, there were 5 in that red box. I ate the other 2. I'm not saying I don't eat them occasionally, but we do want to educate our kids on maybe that this isn't the healthiest, and they're just an occasional thing that we might enjoy together. You know, my new book, Adventures in Veggie Land, it's a book all about teaching children to love vegetables. But I have a confession for you. I don't make dinner for my family every night. Now, on some of my other videos, I know we've talked about the importance of making family dinner or family breakfast and really sitting down at the table. Yes, I want you to do that as much as possible. And actually, I shouldn't say that I didn't make dinner last night. I did. I opened up a lovely bottle of Pinot Grigio and poured myself a glass. And then I painstakingly opened up a package of M&Ms. And honest to goodness, that's what I had for dinner. Every once in a while, a girl's got to do that. Now, the rest of the week, I'm having something healthy filled with vegetables that really nourishes my body. But I want kids to understand that every once in a while, the drive-thru is just fine. You just don't want to do it every day. Okay, if your kid is still stuck in the chicken nugget rut, I want you to think about being more proactive. If you're going to parent proactively and you have to say no, try your best to think ahead. Pack healthy snacks or meals so that the drive-thru isn't the only option. That's the point. Consider packing 2 meals at the beginning of the week, just 2, that you can grab quickly if you have to, in case you have to run out the door on the way to soccer practice and feed the kids in the car. Many of the recipes in Veggieland include leftovers, and I'm a big fan of using leftovers to help feed our family the rest of the week. I can see we're getting some really good comments coming in, and I promise we're going to take a few minutes to answer those. Just to finish up with a few more of the parenting principles, and then we'll take those questions. Another thing I want you to consider is you have to parent consistently. When I teach my courses all around the United States, then one of the main things we talk about is how to help parents provide consistent exposure to healthy foods for kids. If you are going to say no, you want to do it in a consistent manner. So lay the ground rules early so you don't have to say no as often. 80-20 rule, 80% of the time you're going to say no. But if you're not used to saying no, you might have to be a little tougher at first to establish that consistency. You might say something like, I don't think fast food is very healthy, but sometimes it's our only option. The rule is in our family that if neither you or me or daddy or grandma can think of a healthier meal, then we'll go get some fast food. If it's our only option, that's what we're going to do. Or if we're going to do it as a once in a while kind of a fun event to do, that's fine too. But parent consistently and maybe even ask your kids to be sure to pick out something healthy while they're driving through or going into the fast food place. Like maybe we're going to get apple slices instead of French fries this time. That sort of thing. Give the kids the power to come up with some other solutions and get them to think consistently as well, and be more mindful as well of what they're going to eat. Just remember to parent joyfully. Every once in a while, you got to say yes. Celebrate with maybe a small treat like a little ice cream cone, or maybe, gosh, how about just a small package of fries when you're driving through that everybody can pass around and share. Sometimes that's all you need is 4 or 5 fries, to be honest with you. And, eating something small like that together is a nice way to say, yeah, let's go through and get those fries. But we don't have to get the huge, gigantic, supersized fries, right? Just because they're cheaper. Don't get drawn into that. I also want you to be brave. Parent bravely. If you have to say no, make a shopping list and stick to it. This is something I learned from my co-author, Dr. Young, that I was telling you about. She always said to her kids that we don't buy dinner in the drive-through. I only buy food at the grocery store. And she really stuck to that and just made it a habit. It's not always possible, but if we can maintain some consistency and parent bravely and be willing to say no, our kids aren't going to argue as much. Remember to go to the grocery store with them and pick up some things that are going to be easy for you, some pre-cut veggies. Maybe go to Costco and get some of those little tubs of guacamole. Those are fairly inexpensive when you get them at Costco or at Sam's. Maybe get some hummus and keep those in the fridge so that you do have something to grab and go. And of course, if you can, make dinner together, make lunch together whenever you possibly can. But yeah, I know that we all live a very, very busy life. So be patient with yourself, parent patiently. Take the time to teach your kids how to spot unhealthy foods and which options at the drive-thru might be the healthier choices. If you're going into the fast food restaurant, every single fast food restaurant has to have nutrition posted on the wall now. So you can take that opportunity and provide a teachable moment for them to decide, maybe we won't get the supersized fries, because look at the difference not only in the nutrition, but especially the fat content. And teach your kids about that. A little bit's okay, but we don't need to get the supersize. So sometimes the big marketing machine and the influence of the outside world can feel so overwhelming for us as parents. And just rest assured that there's plenty of research that's been focused on how to help kids love healthy foods, especially vegetables. And it always comes down to these basic principles of parenting. So I've outlined these in both books, Raising a Healthy Happy Eater and Adventures in Veggieland. The most important one, though, is to be consistent. I want you to stay calm and consistent. That's the biggest thing. Let's take a few minutes to answer some questions, and whether you've got a child who perhaps is in feeding therapy, which is certainly a big part of my life, or whether you've got a child who's a picky eater, I've got those on my caseload too, or whether you've got a child who's a really adventurous eater and you just want to keep it that way. Let me know what questions you have. I can already see some of them coming in. Oh, yay! We've got some nice comments here. Ashley mentions that she's a speech language pathologist like myself, and that she's a mom to a 11-month-old strong-willed baby who has definite food preferences. Let's talk a little bit about that too. When kids have definite food preferences and they're very strong-willed, That's not a bad trait, actually. You want kids to have strong opinions and be very autonomous and independent. The way to help them understand your point of view is to parent consistently. So continue to offer over and over a variety of healthy foods and balance it out every once in a while with their highly preferred food. So, for example, let's say that that little one adores chicken nuggets. Well, we don't want to give them chicken nuggets all the time, and we definitely don't want to put food in front of them. And if they don't eat it, get the chicken nuggets. They'll quickly learn not to eat what's in front of them because that chicken nugget is always coming. Um, don't let that personality worry you at all. It's actually a good thing as long as you parent consistently. Oh, this is so great. We got so many comments about who people are. We've got occupational therapists and speech language pathologists and parents. And speaking of that, I hope if you haven't already joined it, that you'll join my Facebook group. It's called Adventures in Veggieland, just like my brand new book. And go and join my group. It's for parents, it's for professionals. I'm getting tons of great ideas. And today we put a secret code on there for a special subscription box that is something that looks really cool. It's not something that I profit from, but something I'm excited about. So I wanted to share it with you. So go to the Adventures in Veggieland group and take a look at that. Laura has a question. What's next? What do you mean, Laura? I don't know what you're talking about. Let me know a little bit more there. Oh, there it is. She says, oh, my 3-year-old is on the autism spectrum and he struggles with textures. He's just starting to try blueberries and cherry tomatoes. That's fabulous. Wow. You know, for a lot of kids, the variety of textures, especially in fruits and vegetables, can be a challenge. The best thing we can do with those kids is to start with food play. So as much as you can have him play in food, cook with you, prep the food. If you'd like a special article that is geared toward parents who have children with autism, be sure to Google my last name, Potock, P-O-T-O-C-K, and you'll see an article called The Cooking Connection. It was the cover story for last April's issue of the American Speech Language Hearing Association's magazine. And it's one of the things I love most is to take families who have children with autism, get everyone in the kitchen and get us cooking together so that these kids can really learn the joy of cooking. And we want to be sure to consider their sensory system. So many of our kids with autism have special sensory needs that we need to be respectful of. And you'll find in those articles several different tips for you to help your child and you enjoy that time in the kitchen so that you can really do some hands-on exploration. Christy asks, hi Melanie, SLP here as well. She says, do you have strategies to help with little ones who are exploring fruits and vegetables through play and helping to prep but not willing to taste, or when they do, state their dislikes? I do, Christy, and as a matter of fact, we're going to address that right this second, but just FYI, there's a lot of different videos about that on my YouTube channel. Now, right now, we're on Facebook Live, and I'm going to continue to do these Mondays with Coach Mel every single Monday. But I'm going to start to make a big shift to YouTube. And the reason why is I can reach more people and help more families that way. So be sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel. Make sure in your settings that you set it so that any new video on my channel pops up in your inbox. And then you can watch it at your leisure. Then you're not searching through the 70, 80 videos I already have there for what you're looking for as well. Now, let's get back to your question. First of all, when you've got kids who are, you want them to play and help with prep, but they're not willing to taste, first of all, you're doing the right thing in terms of getting them involved with their hands first. Couple ideas for you. Depends on the age of the child, but throughout Veggieland, I talk a lot about the importance of kids tasting and understanding that it's not necessarily going to taste good. All the top chefs keep little tasting spoons right where they're cooking. And you can get these tasting spoons at the gelato store. I just order mine on Amazon. I'll put the link in the comments for you. You get 250 of them for like $10. And you can wash them too, of course. Well, I keep a little tiny glass of those tasting spoons right where I'm cooking with my kids, and I also keep them on the table for them. And throughout our cooking process, as long as it's safe to do so, you wouldn't want to do this with a raw egg, for example, I will go and take a little taste, and I'm going to model for them. Oh, that's not what I thought. I think that needs more salt. What do you think? I want them to know when we taste new foods, they aren't necessarily going to be tasty for our individual palates. And we want to ask ourselves, what could I do to make that yummier? What could I do to make that taste better? And learn how to add ingredients to make it a little more tasty. As a matter of fact, in Veggie Land, you'll find that if you make some of the recipes, they aren't necessarily going to be your favorite. What I'm encouraging you to do there is turn them into your favorite by adding a little bit more dill to the carrots or by adding a smidge more sugar to the frosting. Everything is, all the recipes are created with the minimal amount of spice and flavoring, and you're encouraged to add more because you taste as you go. And when kids learn, I can taste it and it's totally okay not to like it, they're not as hesitant to take a taste. How often are we modeling, that's really good, you should eat, oh, it's really good, you should try it. And then these kids take a taste and they don't like it because it's the first taste they've ever had. I mean, my first taste of coffee, I was like, oh, it's so bitter. But now I can drink cup after cup. That's because I've been exposed to it over and over. Kids need to know it's totally okay if you don't like it. Today we're just practicing it. What do we need to do to make it tastier? Let's figure it out together. And it's fun to cook together. It doesn't have to be an amazing recipe at the end. It's about the process. So I hope that helps you, but be sure to look at my other YouTube videos. I'll try to post a few in the comments for you as well after we're done with this broadcast. Let's see, any other questions here? I'm going to take a minute just to scroll through. Oh, it's so fun to see so many people, especially the occupational therapist. I just got back from the American Occupational Therapy Association's conference. It's the first time I've ever gone because I'm an SLP. And everyone was so welcoming and so nice to me. We were doing a book signing there of Adventures in Veggie Land. And gosh, I really want to go again. It was so fun to talk to everybody. You know, it's all about collaboration, especially with the parents. I learned so much from parents too. So again, that's why I hope you'll join my group, Adventures in Veggie Land. Let's see. Ashley asks, hi Melanie, do you have any tips for older children, like 10 years old and older, who are neurotypical, who have sensory needs and are not interested in playing in food, but have very restricted eaters? We've worked on describing the food he tries with adjectives, like, building language, and comparing them to similar but preferred foods. I do have a lot of tips. I have a lot of kids that age. And the tricky thing about those kids on my caseload is they got a pretty strong opinion about whether they even want to be in feeding therapy and whether they want to participate. They're really good at just saying, I'm not going to do that. And it takes a little bit of convincing. But usually, usually when I'm working with those childs, especially if they have sensory needs, I think about what can that child do, and that's what I focus on for a little while. So let's think about it this way. If you think about climbing a ladder and that child is able to participate, let's just say in cooking, but they're not willing to taste it, they might be willing to smell it. They might be willing to perhaps take a teeny tiny taste. I would grab a toothpick actually, or even a swizzle stick is great for this, and dip the end of the swizzle stick in and see if they won't take a tiny taste that way, and then give you their opinion as to what they think it might need. Make sure you have those options to sweeten it or to change the spice or the flavorfulness of the dish right there. In other words, some dill, some salt, some pepper, some sugar, whatever it happens to be for the recipe, so they can immediately find a solution. What you're doing there is you're making that child an active participant in the process. These kids tend to stop and back off if they feel like we're directing them too much. So if we make them more of an active participant and look for them for opinions, they're much more willing to participate and feel good about that decision. So maybe give that a try with that little one. Think about what they can do, and then what could you do to get them to be more active in the process, with lots of talk about, hey, I really need your opinion on this. Listen, let's take a taste, and be sure, again, be modeling that. Oh man, this isn't the way it's supposed to taste. What do you think we need to add? I'm kind of thinking dill. Maybe you pick up the dill and you let him take a little smell of it, or you let him pick up some and rub it between his fingers and just, do you think that's what we need? And then if that's the best you can do, that's okay. Have him sprinkle that in there, and then you taste it and confirm and validate what he just did. Oh my gosh, it's so much better. Thank you. Make him more of the master of the process. Let's see some other questions we've got here. Laura mentions that her son struggles with eating regular meals due to his sensory needs. He wants to snack all day. Should we cut out snacks? Laura, that's a great question. No, you don't have to cut out snacks, but remember, you want your snacks to be small. That's often the mistake we make as parents because we know our kids are hungry. So a guideline for you is 1 tablespoon per age. For example, a 3-year-old would get 3 tablespoons of a healthy snack and water with it. The only reason I would serve something other than water is because a doctor or the dietitian recommended that. I don't like to serve milk or juice, especially with kids' snacks, because it really fills them up and then they don't come to the mealtime table hungry. Now, snacks, you'll often hear me say this, means stop, no seconds. A snack is just enough so that they're not hangry by the time you get to dinner. You want them to come to the table hungry. I always say that's the secret sauce. So I would keep them on a meal and snack time schedule. And you can read about that schedule in Raising a Healthy, Happy Eater. I'll also try to post some articles for you when we're all done here in the comments so that you can follow my blog and get some more ideas. It's a great question and one that a lot of parents wonder about, so I'm really glad you asked it. Oh, Amy's here. Hi. Amy says she's a 3-year-old kiddo with autism who has regressed a lot with feeding and is no longer eating previously preferred foods and is losing weight, and that's always worrisome. Any advice? We do a lot of playing with food, and we love using Milton, the mealtime companion. I'm glad you love using Milton. When they first were, the 2 gentlemen who invented that, it's a little monster that eats, they consulted me, and I really enjoyed chatting with them. They're good people, and it's a really fun product. So I'm happy to see that it's doing well. Amy, I think my first thought is to take a look back at the history and see if something happened where he suddenly, well, maybe not suddenly, but gradually started to regress. Did he have a stomach flu? Did he suddenly start school? Did something happen in the household, perhaps, that caused some stress and anxiety? And when kids with autism experience those or other factors, it can really narrow down their repertoire because those kids are all about sameness and they truly want to stick with what feels comfortable and what feels safe to them, especially in stressful situations like that. So I take a look at that. And one of the things I'd want to think about is perhaps is it something with his physiology? One of the big ones for me is kids who become constipated. Maybe this shift in diet, whatever caused it, then caused some constipation and only aggravated the situation. Or did his reflux get worse? Or did he have an ear infection? That can definitely affect swallowing and a willingness to try new food. So once you figure out what it is, if there's any way to go back and resolve it, like the reflux, definitely you're going to do that. But once you figure that out, what you want to do is go back and look at the last couple foods that he was eating and start there. gradually begin to offer little tiny tastes of those. And if he can't taste it, then ask him to do something a smidge easier. Maybe to smell it, maybe to lick it. Now, I personally, I don't have kids kiss food. I have found that it just backfires. The kids close their mouths when they kiss it, and I want them with an open mouth. So I go right to licking or tapping teeth. It's just me, but I find that works best for me. Jenna asks, she's seeing an 18-month-old, she's a feeding specialist in feeding therapy, and we're currently working on green beans. He will touch, pick up, and play with green beans consistently. He'll imitate licking with a model and has started to imitate gnawing and biting, oh, it's so good, a few times during our session. He will not put the green bean into his mouth, though. His dad is getting frustrated that progress isn't faster. Well, first of all, show Dad this video because I want to tell him he's making great progress. It's just that we're stalled at this one tiny step. So Jenna, I don't know if you've taken my 2-day course or not, but one of the strategies that I teach in that course is to teach kids to hold the food on their teeth and then take it out. And I think your 18-month-old, unless there's some significant cognitive delays, would be able to learn this. So you're going to start first with holding that food, the little piece of green bean, right? You could do a big one if you want, whichever one you think he's more comfortable with, a little piece or the whole green bean. Take the little pointy ends off so that they're not troublesome, and hold that green bean and model for him to hold it and pull it out. Hold it and pull it out. Now, when he pulls it out, let's pretend that my pen's this green bean. When he pulls it out, grab a little plate here. Okay, you've got this, right? Now go and have him put it on a plate. See this? Okay. Green bean, hold it, put it on a plate. Give him something fun to do every time he does it. Make it a silly game. Now you've got a kid who's holding and putting on the plate. Now I want you to be super silly and stall getting this plate to him. So when he's holding the green bean, okay, I can't talk and hold the green bean at the same time, but he's holding the green bean, pretend it's in my teeth. And I want you to be kind of silly and just be, okay, here it comes. Here it comes. And now bring it over here and let him drop it onto the plate. Now he held the green bean in his teeth for 5 or 6 seconds. That's a big deal. Then you can start to work on, once he can do that for a while, keep playing the floating plate game, then you can start to work on little pieces of green bean and him placing it on the plate, not spitting, placing it. Then stall with the plate a little bit more, and now you'll have a kid holding a tiny piece of green bean on his teeth and then dropping it. Now he's holding it in his mouth for 5 or 6 seconds, and then you can start to work on chewing from there. So do you see how we broke it down into the teeny tiniest steps to build confidence and build trust? This is also a really fun game that Daddy can play with him. Please tell Daddy, take it at the child's pace. The child sets the pace, not us. Let's see, any other questions before we wind up today? Oh, Kristen says, hi, Melanie, and I'm an OT here with such a heart for feeding. You just blew my mind with the thought of teaching kids it's okay to not like a particular food. Oh, good, mind blown. I really hope that all of you will take a few minutes to, if you haven't already ordered Veggie Land, it's a great price on Amazon today. Always check your local bookstore and support them. It's at Barnes & Noble. Even Target.com has it. You're going to find tips like this throughout the entire book, as well as research that you can share with families. And of course, this book was written for parents. A lot of therapists are using it in feeding therapy as well, but it's really for every parent and every child. I hope you enjoy it. I really want to thank you for being here tonight. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel because we're going to be switching over to YouTube videos here pretty soon. And I think that's it. All right, everybody. I am off to Canada to teach, and then in a few more weeks, off to Ireland. So keep in touch with me. I'll try to do some Facebook Lives from both of those locations. And thanks so much. for being here tonight. I'm going to upload this to YouTube tonight. It'll pop up in your inbox if you're subscribed. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.